Don't you want a hideaway detachable crotch? The Comfort Walk panty girdle. That's right. We're talking Golden Age and Silver Age comic ads marketed to kids.
We're talking about something that's extremely cherished by people at that time in that age group. Everybody had comic books.
Think of how many comics were being produced at this time. I mean, single issues went to print as high as 1 million copies. So when you hear this sensational ad, think of how many people actually read it. Think of how many kids actually read it. We are going to go through some of the most strange comic ads from this time frame. We took out so many books from our PC, Golden Age, Silver Age books, and we found the coolest ads, the strangest ads. So hit the like, slap the subscribe button, because some of these exist online, right? Like some of these ads have made it onto Reddit, etc. But a lot of these you can only find with the hard physical copy. Most reprints don't include the ads from back in the day. And a lot of these are actually in public domain. So if you're looking to read some of these comics, you can find the stories out there, but they almost entirely omit the ads. They are Americana. It's history. But it's history that's lost if we don't chat about it.
Let's get into one of the most common ads that we saw, the one that pulls on kids' heartstrings. We're talking about receiving animals in the mail. And this is without permission needed from your parents.
Mail away for live animals, literally. We're talking tiny dogs, squirrel monkeys, sea monkeys?
Sea monkeys is probably the one that most of us know about because it was probably the most successful of all the ads. And you wonder, what the hell is a sea monkey? I know what I thought a sea monkey was as a kid, but what it really was brine shrimp.
Ant farms were so popular at the time that this was an opportunity to get people onto something else. And these particular shrimp actually hatched from eggs that lay dormant for such a long time that they would be able to be sold in packets, so that when people dump the packets in water and within 24 hours, you can see these living, little shrimp swimming around that didn't look like monkeys.
But do you know what actually looks like monkeys?
An actual monkey.
Exactly. And we say that because we have an actual account of somebody who purchased this monkey from a comic book and got it to his home.
I remember being a kid and wanting an animal and my parents saying no. And then imagine, all you have to do is clip out this little coupon from a comic book, put some money in that maybe you got from your birthday or a couple birthdays. Then at some point in the mail, a live animal shows up.
Jeffrey, a 15-year-old kid, bought this monkey and had it shipped to his friend's house because he did not want his parents to find out.
He recalls only spending at most $25 because he remembers he wouldn't be able to afford anything else. He had to pay for postage on delivery, and he said that the box, shoebox size, was wrapped and had a small chicken wire cage, so that all you can see was this little face behind that cage.
I can only imagine 15-year-old bewildered that you have a monkey in a box now that you have to race home. But the next thing you have to do is now get it out of a box and put it in a new environment. And in doing so, the monkey jumps out, starts climbing on pipes in his basement, and the only way he can think of to get it down is to yank on this monkey's tail.
Jeffrey goes on to describe how this monkey bit him like it was a sewing machine. Blood was literally quoted leaking everywhere all over the floor. 28 stitches is what Jeffrey would have to get because the monkey bit his arm all over the place. The dad would run downstairs. What the heck's going on? Is that a rabbit? In which Jeffrey replied, no, it's a monkey.
This monkey bit him in the neck. He would have died.
Well, this has a happy ending because they would actually adopt it as a pet and train it. But let's break this down just a little bit more because there's some crazy parts of this story that I need you to consider. 1, yeah, you got a 15-year-old that was able to do this. Any kid could have done this. 2, it's pretty cheap. 3, USPS is literally going and picking up these packages and shipping them all over the country. Because this isn't just a one-time event. No, monkeys are being shipped everywhere. Imagine, you can't even ship a lithium battery right now, let alone a live primate.
We're just scratching the surface for the amount of ads and gimmicks that were used to get money from the kids so their parents don't find out. And just even a quick example is a Raquel Welch pillow, who was a famous actress and sex symbol at the time that you could have just got from an Archie Pals and Gals number 87. I mean, that's as teen kid of a comic as there is.
Yeah, they made this thing look huge in the ad. You can have this sex symbol laying in bed with you, 10-year-old.
10-year-old.
Let's give a big thank you to the Macroverse, the sponsor of this video. We told you about them last month when they successfully funded the Kickstarter for horror pre-code comics going back to press in their original paper format.
The goal is to reproduce these as they were initially intended when they first hit the newsstands, and now we're seeing that with Archie MLJ publications. We're getting Pep 22, the first appearance of Archie, Betty, and Jughead. Pep 26, not just a great Liberty Bell cover, but actually the first appearance of Veronica.
And my favorite, Archie's Madhouse issue number 22, the first appearance of Sabrina, the Teenage Witch. 10 different high-end facsimiles have already been successfully funded to over $100,000 on Kickstarter with over 400 backers. They did it again.
And just like the horror, they have large collected editions that are going to give you fuller runs of different titles as well. Something you need to go explore, check out the site, see what's available.
One of the coolest parts about this huge facsimile project Kickstarter is that they're actually reprinting these with the ads. So you're not just getting it in the original way that they were released back in the 40s and 50s. You're going to get the ads in all their glory. Now, enough of that ad. Let's get into these ads, because gimmicks were a huge thing. Sell cheap stuff to kids in hopes to sell a lot of them, because over 1 million ads are going to be printed per issue.
Gimmicks are timeless. We deal with that stuff today. We have to filter through it. And back then, they had to deal with things like the no-battery telephone, the midget pocket radio. They had things such as itching and sneezing powder and card tricks and fake marriage licenses. But the number one thing that I think we all wished as a kid was true when we saw an ad like this was the X-ray specs.
It's true, but these X-ray specs, what's hilarious about them is that it's an optical illusion. Clearly, they aren't real. And when you put them on, what it does is it like uses a lens so that the lighting around the subject has this outer glow, and it kind of looks like the bones in your hand when you look at a hand, but it's not really. I think the most telltale signs, though, of what they were trying to target is featured in ad, because these all have women in the ad, alluding to being able to see through clothing.
Clearly, these companies knew their demographic. They were trying to appeal more to a base of young male teens, because not only did we see the X-ray specs alluding to maybe seeing through clothing, but we also saw ads where you could learn to hypnotize and get what you want. And that ad had a female with her hands out like she was hypnotized coming towards you.
The women are like in a trance in the ad. It's pretty cringy. A lot of these didn't age well, but that's expected from the 1940s, the 1950s. But there was also this allure that these ads tried to provide, which was an ability to enhance your career, to make money, to learn new skills, like drawing, which would make sense. I mean, a kid just read through Plastic Man, as you should. And by the time you get through the story, maybe you want to be like Jack Cole. You want to draw some Plastic Man. But does the ad about learning to draw utilize comics as the reason to do so? No. Instead, you can learn to draw because you may get girls.
The one common thing in all these ads right here, the sex appeal. They're convincing us that if you get this projector and if you have a woman in front of you, you will be able to draw this female perfectly and become that great artist that you maybe want to be. So not only can you maybe commingle with females, but you can also have a career in art.
But there's a lot of other promises that they gave. So many other talents and jobs that they were soliciting. Engineering jobs, a lot of like television assembly, learn how to deal with wires and controls and STEM jobs, really.
I feel like this was almost marketing towards adults too, because the kids had the excitement of the front cover, but if you flipped it over, presented to your dad, hey dad, look, I could learn to be a scientist. I could learn to build rockets.
Yeah, I could imagine like most parents saying no a lot to these types of items, but hey, little Johnny wants a telescope. Maybe Susie wants a typewriter.
In most of these descriptions, they were marketed as a career path. And so that just seemed like a good idea as a parent.
Offering the ability to create a model citizen through career paths and different talents. And while we're on the idea of modeling, almost more than anything else, right, that we saw, I mean, we went through a ton of Golden Age books. And one of the most consistent areas to market was to people's sensitivity about their own body, male and female. And it makes sense, because comics depict super strength, superheroes. And imagine a boy reading about this, you know, wanting to be like Bruce Wayne, wanting to be like these characters that they see beat the bad guys, but then also get the girls. So they were targeted heavily, specifically to gain muscle, to learn jujitsu.
And to think they used to call me skinny. Give me 15 minutes a day and I'll give you a new body,
said the cheetah underwear wearing muscle man.
All of these ads promise the same thing. You barely have to do anything and you're gonna gain a bunch of weight. You're gonna gain that muscle. You are going to get the girl. You are gonna be able to stand up to bullies. Just send in $3.99.
We all know the health gimmicks. We get it. And it's interesting to think that to this day, when obesity in the 40s was like 5.8% opposed to 40+% now, that people were still concerned about their image.
On one side, you have boys being promised these protein supplements to gain a bunch of weight, to be able to get the girls and deal with the bullies. But then on the other side of the spectrum, you have the females being marketed to shed the weight, to be skinny, to be beautiful, to get the husband. And how do you do it? By taking candy to supplement your hunger and to shed the pounds.
Let's take a picture of a doctor holding a syringe. And let's just pretend that this is Captain America's super soldier serum?
Which brings us to like this other part that was heavily marketed, which is a lot of cliche boy-girl stuff. You know, you can dress up as a cowboy, build your own rocket ship out of cardboard. I found some images of like the real thing, which is actually kind of cool, don't you think?
Absolutely, because I know I would have bought this thing.
And then you have for the girls like lipstick and makeup, but then also some things that kind of crossed genders, like pimple remover and acne medicine. But let's crank it up a little bit because holy smokes, are there a lot of weapons. They were soliciting things that you could literally shoot, whether it be BB guns or straight up fireworks, being solicited as explosive materials that you can get by the freaking crate and exploding your backyard.
This was a wild time. You got monkeys in the mail and you got weapons, and your parents never had to know.
Early Americana and comic books were absolutely wild. I know there's other ads out there, and if there's any that you know, make sure to tag us over on Instagram. There's probably things we missed. I can't imagine just how many parents found out after it was too late. How did my son hurt themselves with a firework? How did they get a firework? And it was because of Detective Comics.
And finally, no better way to wrap up this video about ads with an ad of our own.
That's right. Don't tell your parents, but you can go to comictom.com and join the mystery mail call and get your hands on not just a Mark Spears Thundercats number 12, but one per box. Chamber of Chills, issue number 19. I have one of the very first variants from this print run that is being redone in the same style as it was back when it came out in the 50s. Comictom.com, support this show. I want to send you comics and, as always,
Geek responsibly.
Enough said.